It is an honor to be part of this panel, of this experiment and this experience. And I'm going after Jennifer and try to download this I'm a professor, I'm the director of the Gender Studies program in Mexico City, in one of the biggest universities, 300,000 students from all different places and all different races and all different classes and backgrounds. So it is a public university, it is free, it has a lot of things that Jennifer named. It moves from part to part, it's all over, it speaks clearly to all kinds of people. So my university is a very special one, a very old one. It has more than 500 years. Tilting pedagogies as utopian intervention, outrage, desire, and the body in the classroom. Scene 1, inclination towards the body in the classroom, the work of the Gender Studies program at UNAM in Mexico City. Janny is 9 years old. She likes to turn her body around. Her favorite dance is belly dancing. She dances during recess and in class. She is in 3rd grade in California. Janny likes to tilt her hands and let the rest of the body become infected with the turns and twists with round, soft, sexy, funny moves. Girls at school look at her with curiosity and imitate her. Soon, after looking in a mirror, we see choreographies of hands and bodies smiling and enjoying tilting collectively. They all want to be Janny. A sea of girls play moving like waves. Mar, her mother, is called by the school principal. Janny is asked to stop moving like the sea, since she projects a vibe, a sexual dimension, they say, improper for the rest of the girls in school. Besides, Mar is informed that Janny doesn't understand divisions. She doesn't understand math. Janny unites by tilting. Her body congregates, liberates all of these stiff girls at their desks. Janny unites by tilting. Her body congregates. She cannot divide, she only can add. Even though her thing is to gather people, her operation is addition. This girl doesn't understand, the concerned principal reports. A medication is suggested for this ailment, so Janny is medicated. She needs, they say, serious and worried medical attention. She needs, they say, medical attention. Janny tells her mom she's always given the easiest assignments in the class, and they make it clear to her that she needs attention. She can't handle division with more than 2 digits, they say. Neither can she contain anymore the report of her failing body, of her failed subtractions, of failed divisions. Janny postpones her body, withdraws it from the classroom, and changes tilting for dividing. We lose a body, we gain an achiever and a future academic. The utopic dimension as a tilted operation, the postponed body. It is a hidden but known fact that as students move forward in academia and leave behind grammar school and junior school and high school, they leave also behind the body. Students in academia need to gradually give up those corporeal signs which could compromise the veracity, verisimilitude, and legitimacy of their knowledge. And the corporizing the body is considered a sign of academic investiture. Investing the absent body comes to a question. What is canceled when the body is omitted? We are interested in the exact opposite, producing the body alongside an academic subject, an intermittent return to the body as key to incarnation, a detour to the body at the most advanced levels of knowledge production, and in the most decorporalized of places, the classroom. Utopian acts in this proposal are all about the body appearing inside the classroom, a reconsideration, recognition, and validation of other archives, other repertoires of knowledge, desire, and the negotiation of its place and legitimacy in academia. Utopian acts lean towards the body, a body in transit, suspended to become. With the figure of the tilted classroom, off-axis, unbalanced, we explore the redistribution of knowledge and the expectations regarding the body receiving education and rearranging its disposition in management, like all the movements that Jennifer told us. No? It's a rearrangement of knowledge. The utopic dimension appears in slanted scenarios, and due to this inclination, favor experiences of body desire and knowledge in other ways. Tilt, incline, displace from the axis, slant, give an oblique direction, generate an inclination, a slope. Here I use inclination in its double meaning as a tendency, a preference, rather an incitation, and as an act of bending, leaning. In short, inclination as an incitation to tilt. Tilting pedagogies could be understood as operation which favors the friction with dimensions that revolve learning and position it at the border with the body and its unbalancing, its turns. With this I mean its contact with sexuality as transit, as a suspended act, with activism as intervention, with academia as new archives, and art as incarnation of knowledge. Several questions arise. What is the kind of knowledge it is intended to be produced by tilting? Which body is involved, invented, recreated? What appears in the classroom when it is inclined? What kind of practices imply the inclination towards suspended sexualities, or better, sexualities in suspense, art and activism, that is, leaning to the street, to public spaces, to squares, and to agitation? Where is Jennifer? Right here. There. To agitation, leaning to agitation. My proposal explores the mechanics, the process, and the necessary inclinations for transforming, turning the classroom into an open public space, a square, a place of contact, of excluded knowledge and absent bodies, a space for the appearance of collective practices that raise urgent issues. Tilted pedagogies refers to the appearance of acts in a scene aimed for collective thinking, open classrooms, and inclined practices. The tilting figure derives for some childhood memories in amusement parks, particularly a ride called Tilt a Whirl, which spins at such a speed that the body is clinched so that its weight and gravity are felt. As Nancy would say, the body occupies the limit, the extreme. The action of tilting confronts the materiality of the body on the one hand, and on the other, it offers the possibility of changing its gravity and the sensation of its materiality. We then favor certain knowledge to come, without a place yet, Utopian. In this sense, Utopian. What is revealed through tilting pedagogies located in the whirling classroom? Academia, activism, and art in the university. Theoretical maneuvers. To locate the utopian mechanism, it is necessary to understand the notion of stage. A stage is the place, as Diana Taylor writes, in which an event is developed or takes place. Something happens in a stage. We can therefore bring forth the fact that we understand pedagogy as something that happens, as an action, as an effect of leaning towards the body in transit. Not a settled body, a body in process, in transit. An act is not just something that happens to you just like that. An act is something that discloses a set of truths. It is the negative, unseen, dark, unexpected aspect that appears. An inclination, a displacement, which disturbs your regular place and favors visibility, appearance of the oblique, of the suspense, suspended. This disturbance relates to an academic maneuver which involves the act of quoting, citing. Who do you quote inside the classroom? Who do we read? Who and what do we make appear in that scene, in that classroom? We saw what Jennifer made appear, and we saw it here, and we saw it in the video. No? We saw what she can, it's like magic, no? She makes appear solidarity and laughter, and also the whole set of the prison, no? The whole vocabulary of the prison that imprisons the queer and the black and women and the Indian, no? That was really fantastic, no? So she makes things appear here. Jennifer Miller and I do make things appear in our particular pedagogical acts. With those appearances, we displace the classroom to the street and the street to the classroom. We use the circus and the classroom as places for apparition of the denouncement of cruelties and obtuseness of life, of reactionary politics, of prisons, the big issues of the city and the world, but also the quotidian, the day-to-day situation. We both face a rough street audience, multiracial and usually homophobic and sexist. We both want the same thing: give way to the body, to utopias of desire, understanding, and enjoyment. She takes the circus from place to place. I intend to take the classroom to wander around like a circus, full of acts and scenes which agitate and incite the collectivity. The circus and the classroom are apparently two opposite spaces. One is closed, the other open. One encourages the eccentric, bearded women, midgets, and freaks. The other regulates appearance. The idea is to turn the classroom into an open, heterogeneous space for surprise, queer collectivities, and otherness. I understand both the circus and the classroom as border halfway between the street, public space, agitation, indignation, and outrage, and the production of eccentric knowledge. What happens when the body, emotion, indignation appears in the classroom? What appeared in 2011 was the agitation and indignation of many youths, willing to create a new pedagogic, cultural, and social movement based on the occupation of public spaces. Like the occupation of the circus of Janny, you remember, no, Occupy Wall Street, that actually was the last one that was occupied. It began in Tunis, in Tunisia, almost 1 year before. What appeared in 2011 was the agitation and indignation of millions of Jews. I intend to combine the collective work of intervention by inventing communities which meet halfway between sexualities, the street, and academia. Let us explore what kind of encounters, what sort of appearances we are talking about, in which classroom. Scene 1 was Janny. Scene 2, the classroom as a public square. For the Gender Studies program at the National University in Mexico, pedagogy always comes first. We have a different proposal regarding the administration, production, and distribution of knowledge, an invitation that allows gender, sexuality, and cultural study to twist and disorder 3 realms: what students know, the boundaries established by disciplines, and what understanding, indignation, and desire exalts. We will and incline the classroom for the appearance of strategic subjects to understand urgent issues related with the violent and extraordinary events we are facing in Mexico today. We take the classroom to prison, to women's prison, to the military, to work with them against violence, and to the street. At the same time, we want to take the streets, its public squares, into our classroom. We have developed an inclination for certain appearances in our class: readings, performance, invitation, which make the street and the plaza appear inside it. Let me give you a glance to this tilted operation. Taking the plaza and speaking up. Taking the plaza and speaking up, this is a topic which centered the version of the Border and Citizen Seminar, which I imparted alongside Dr. Lozano during the fall semester of 2000 and the spring semester of 2012. Tomar la plaza y alzar la voz, tomar la palabra, el movimiento de los indignados, the outrage movement, Occupy Wall Street. What has happened in the public squares, which needs to be recirculated, tilted towards the classroom? 2 men in the plaza, 2 fathers. One sets himself on fire, December 2010. The other speaks words of fire, April 2011. Tunisia and Mexico, then Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Sahrawi desert, and then New York. Immolation and words, fire and the call to fire. Mohamed Bouazizi sets himself on fire on the plaza in Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia, in December 17, 2010. Tunisian police confiscated Bouazizi's card for not having a license to sell. He is called the father of the Tunisian revolution. Javier Sicily in Mexico takes the public square in April of 2011 after the murder of his son and 6 of his friends. He's called father of peace and dignity. 2 occupations from the flow of desperation and impunity. The flame incarnated in the body and an inflamed word. What political strategy can come from fire and words? Which flows make them circulate? Which message is ignited with those flames and words of fire? Regularly, the voicing of pain through dispossession and disapparition of the loved ones is on the side of women. Men tend to disappear. What turned these fathers to occupy this gender role? There is a twisting of genders. An indignant youth taking places, public spaces, and arguing in favor of new ways of knowing, in rancière ways, and for unprecedented ways of ruling, overtaking Foucault and his clearest enunciation of criticism as a denial, a refusal to be governed in such a way, gives shape to this desire to know in different ways. They make room for the classroom as a public space, a space to raise their voices, and for the public space as a classroom, a space in which knowledge circulates and becomes collective. The outrage, the indignation that plugs through and occupies the square, saturated with the desire of knowledge and desire of being governed sexually and politically in unexpected ways, tenting and tempting. Butler works with the notion of spaces of appearances. In amazing articulation, she shows the public sphere and its machinery are built from the notion of the more than one. In the midst of this massive occupation is the ever-growing precariousness of the 99% and its power of appearance, and in the deciphering of the corporal dimensions and corporal suspense. Who is capable of appearing? Who lives disappearing like an extreme form of exclusion? Who is unable to live sexually in suspense? Finally, how do we make these questions appear in the classroom as more than one? In the film we saw yesterday, politics and sexuality do not come forward only in collective action. The ones that were here in the film, we saw that. Only the more than one can bring forward this articulation of sexuality and politics. It was very clear. It became evident that we had to twist the classroom, tilt it. We had to tear down its walls and turn it into an open space, a space of contact, a space for speaking, for positioning from the improper, bodies, unbalanced sexualities, and the partial. Scene 3, the tilted classroom inside prison, muralism and women prisoners. We bring the classroom into women prison and tilt their walls. Over 200 women prisoners have taken the prison walls under the project of tilting pedagogies. Students and teachers from the Gender Studies program in Mexico have been extending our classroom to Santa Marta Catitla, a women prison in Mexico City. We have developed a penitentiary mural project which intended to appropriate the prison walls with the design of collective visual autobiographies of the imprisoned women. 4 murals have given place to raise the women's voices inside prison. The Scream, Time, Hope, and Strength, Path of Freedom, and the Universe of Justice. We have created a group of women, lesbian, queer, heterosexual, transsexual, inside prison, which explore which walls have to be taken and which walls have to be torn. We call it the commando of walls. To take what confines you, in this case material walls, and impose sexuality, defines you as resisting and pushing towards expression just upon that which reduces you. Heteronormative sexuality, and state, social, and family violence against women. The visual narrative which takes over the walls tilts the enclosed space and makes representation of failed desire, failed bodies, and failed justice appear. The second mural, Strength, Time, and Hope, was designed by sentenced women for those who were just beginning to live the long process of justice and the transit of desire as a process of transformation. They are all women, so there are a lot of things happening in the order of desire and body and love. A number of women, which quantity we are trying to define, are in prison in Santa Marta for crimes related to their men. Pagadoras, they name themselves, payers. Either they are there in prison instead of their men, or they are there because of their men. For these women, their fathers, brothers, lovers, uncles, sons are the articulation to crime. The exercise of lesbian, queer sexualities in prison allowed them to reconstruct the very gender scene where they were dispossessed and framed, male and female. Women in prison take over the sexual and gender walls that reduce them, think together about their crime and the implication of being a normative woman in it. So being a woman incites in this relation with male to crime. The amazing relation with crime and men and the possibility of living their sexualities in between women is changing their stories about who they are and what being a woman means in juridical, social, and sexual terms. This tilting of sexuality and gender related to crime and justice does give them a kind of power related with the experience of pleasure, shifting gender roles and juridical vocabulary that we are now trying to explain and define, not only academically, but legally. With them, we are creating a legal clinic. I remember when we saw the film yesterday, they created a legal clinic also with all this excess and all this love and all this incredible wilderness. So we are creating also a legal clinic where together we revise their cases, not only in juridical terms, but also in sexual and gender terms. This juridical and sexual exercise empowers them in profound ways. It offers the possibility of rehearsing sexualities in suspense and suspending the ways in which they are reduced by being a woman. It's very important to be able to suspend all these gender roles. An outcome of this represents the opportunity of reorganizing their defense, displacing the particular domination extracted by being woman, and within a strong juridical frame by being woman in suspense, on trail, in process, to become in desire. So this process, being in process by the juridical apparatus, is also being in process by the sexual apparatus, being in process of becoming other thing that is not a regular woman. Gender and sexuality supporting justice. Tilting pedagogies as utopian acts. Here I finish. The three turns. A tilted space responds to the development of a very specific pedagogy proposition, a pedagogy which we have denominated tilted, configured by three twists and turns. One, the tilt produced by gender perspective in collision and coalition with queer tilted sexualities. A located gaze in an incarnated eye, which looks from oblique angles at power relations. Two, the tilt generated by positioning ourselves at the edge of a lot of things, of the space, of disciplines, of love, of bodily transits, from below. It's at the edge and at the limit. Three, the tilt provoked by the intention of making the body appear in the classroom, looking into what the body means, having it, producing it, disappearing it, hurting it, hiding it, suspending it, being more tactile than tactic. We live in a time and space where medicating a girl that enjoys tilting and dancing is a quotidian practice. We live with that along gay marriage, places like the silver platter, possibilities of lesbian adoption and abortion. We are not there, this is not over. This is why we turn to the ground level canon. I call it wetback canon. For the inclination, the suspense, and desire. Diamela El Tit, Cristina Rivera Garza, Gloria Anzaldúa, Clarice Lispector, Angela Davis, Rosario Castellanos, Comandante Esther, Las Madres de la Plaza de Mayo, and all the plazas. People of color, inmates, lesbian, migrant, the displaced, theorizing, talking, tilting from transit and transited bodies, stigmatized but developing a capacity, a vocabulary for an outraged understanding, an ignited and indignated theory. Tilting pedagogies leans in favor of suspended bodies, in favor of ignition and indignation as practices that incline towards the non-regulated, the new, the unexpected. Behind this scene, there is always a way of inventing a body, somebody, of rearranging their pleasures and desire to escape the many walls that reduce us. Thank you.